Hi guys, Reynold here. We are just about to get the Final Fantasy XIV collaboration rerun, and with it there's 3 vision cards that can be pulled for Viz. Now, there are also 2 units, there's Thancred and Yshtola, but both of them are handed out for free, so I'll leave it to your decision whether you want to EX them or not. In a nutshell, my thoughts are that Thancred is a really solid unit, but he's not worth his cost 100, and the one place where he would shine with the kind of kit he has would be cost-limited content in my opinion, so he won't really see much play. I feel like if you're going for cost-limited stuff, you'll run Engelbert instead of him, because you're saving 30 cost overall, and outside of that, there's really no reason to fit him in a team, unless you just want to have fun with him. And then same for Yshtola, she's interesting, but when would you ever decide to run Yshtola over, say, Regalia Glaciella? Because she is paper thin, and if somebody looks at her wrong, she's going to die. And so I won't make a complete video on those 2 units, but what I do want to talk about is these new vision cards we're getting. Well, there is the one new Scions of Twilight that is good for slash attackers of light element, who would have thought? And then there's also the older vision cards that are rerunning. So we'll talk about that today, how it can make your team stronger, and whether or not it's worth it for your account and your goals in the game. Before we talk about the VC's stats, if there is no pity, if it's not a 5-step at the end of which you're guaranteed to get your vision card, please don't pull for them. For some reason, Final Fantasy vision cards have a tendency to not have a pity. I really don't understand why, but I've seen players spend 40,000 Viz on these vision cards and end up empty-handed before, and we have so many good things coming in the near future that you don't want to make that mistake. So if it's not a regular 5-step, do not pull on them, it's not worth it. So now, we're looking at Scions of Twilight. This vision card is designed to be equipped on a physical unit. It has attack, agility, and HP, so really good stats to have overall. For the individual unit, you'll get some extra attack, some extra dark resistance, which will be handy because there's some pretty solid dark units coming in the future. And then it reduces your crit rate by 5%. 5%, not a big deal. Crit damage, not a big deal in my opinion, nor are the visions, so you're not losing out on too much here. The big takeaway though is the party ability. There is 35% slash resistance penetration, I'll talk about that in a minute, but mostly what I like about the VC is 13% HP and 20% magic resistance. Magic is one of the most common damage types, and you're running units like Starlet Elena in your light teams, who has high faith and is very susceptible to magic scaling attacks, so that is a great buff to have. And even as a secondary VC, we'll look at the numbers in a minute, but these stay pretty high, so they stay very relevant. Now, how good is 35% slash resistance penetration? I know I've heard other people say that it was a great addition and it would make units like Starlet Elena crazy. I disagree. I think the slash resistance penetration part of this vision card is actually the weakest bit of it. Now, if you don't know how slash resistance penetration or any kind of penetration works in War of the Vision, it ignores a portion of the enemy's existing resistance. For example, if you're targeting an enemy that has 10% slash resistance with your 35% slash resistance, you might think that 10 minus 35 goes to 0. That's not how it works. You will ignore 35% of the existing 10%, meaning you would reduce that 10% resistance to a 6.5. It seems a lot less impactful now, right? And then, do the light slash units need that? Not so much. Luck has in his limit burst an ability that basically decreases slash resistance by, I believe, 38%. So that's already covered. And then on the other end, Starlet Elena already ignores 40% of your slash resistance. So yeah, that takes it to 75%, it's good, but tanks that survive several hits from Starlet Elena right now, they don't just rely on slash resistance, they rely on a good combination of slash resistance, light resistance, high spirit, high HP, so sure, you're gonna penetrate the slash resistance part better, but that won't be such a big deal in the face of all that mitigation. The one most reliable mitigation either way is and will remain light resistance, because that's one that can't be penetrated so far in the game. So yeah, I feel like it's a really good VC, but the slash resistance penetration part is not as good as it was hyped to be. Now, as a secondary VC, this remains a really good VC. The unit equipping it will get 5% dark resist, a little bit of attack as well. Crit rate down is a little bit less impactful, but mostly the party will still get 10% magic resistance, almost 10% HP, and a whooping 17% slash resist penetration, because why not? Just that extra HP and magic resistance makes it a pretty good thing to slot in, and then since the VC has such good offensive stats, it gives you a nice, interesting mix of offense and defense, which I like very much. I think for players that have basically all the light VCs and can build a dream team, this will be a secondary VC because, in my opinion, there is better stuff to fit as a primary slot. But let's take a look at that. So my ideal light evasion team will be Starlet Elena, Engelbert, and Luck. We've seen how strong Engelbert is, I think, for a while now, so nobody's going to be surprised that this team will still be using a tank. And then it's about having as much luck and evasion and agility as you can get. These are what evasion teams need, and then agility is the big edge that Light has. The ability that they have to lap enemies and chain them to death is their main edge, so we want as much agility as we can get. For this reason, on the primary side, we have Luck up, Evasion up, and Agility and Slash Attack up, because the Scions of House Beowulf card for light units is just insane. Now, a lot of players don't have it maxed. I know I don't, and I tried to when it was initially released, but the Mog Shop farming was so hard that mine is stuck at level 85, and so if you don't own Scions of House Beowulf, that is when I would take the Scions of Twilight card and put it in Luck's primary slot. If you do that, then great, you can have Shiva in the secondary slot, get some extra evasion. If you do own Scions of House Beowulf, then I would probably put the Scions of Twilight as a secondary card, and it's up to you whether having an extra secondary card is worth 10,000 Viz plus whatever it takes to max it, or if you'd rather skip it and not have to deal with it. Then the other slot on that team would be Secrets of the Heart, Bahamut, extra agility, extra luck, again, just trying to make these guys go as fast as they can and dodge as many hits as they can. I always forget to say this, and I guess better late than never, but my reviews are usually from the perspective of PvP. It's going to be either a guild battle or high-level class matches in arena, because that's first what I enjoy the most in the game, and then I feel like PvE in general is rather quote-unquote easy in War of the Visions, in that you don't need to build specific units or specific vision cards. If you keep working on your accounts, slowly build units and slowly max your vision cards, whichever ones you have, you will eventually end up with teams that are able to tackle any type of challenge. And I've demonstrated that, I think, time and time again, using only MR units for challenges that are designed for UR units, because I have maxed out VCs, I have maxed out equipment, and I'm willing to crack my head on that puzzle. So with that said, it's a really good VC, primary or secondary depending on what you already have, but it's not like it's game changing. It's not going to be a crazy good VC giving a ton of slash resistance penetration. It's just something that increases your light team's bulk overall, which is a nice little add-on. Now, let's look at the second one, Scions of Shadow. I think this one will see play specifically when Dark gets Joker, Dark gets Little Leela, cost 100 version, and it becomes a really big threat for light teams. These latest Dark releases on the JP side are extremely accurate, and they are able to land hits on light units very easily, which makes the evasion teams a little bit less strong against them specifically. And the Scions of Shadow card will be used at that point to counter the Dark teams, because with it, it is quite possible to have units with 100% Dark resistance, and just completely block their attacks. So that's really the main use for this Vision card. I don't think you'll ever run it outside of it, but if you are a light player, you want to have a way to counter these Dark teams, it's definitely not a bad one to get. One thing I like about the Vision card is it has both attack and magic, so you can equip it on just about anybody, and they're going to benefit from its stats. The individual ability is Dark Resistance up 10. It's not tied specifically to light units, so I guess you could equip it on an off-element support, so that's also a little bit of a boon. And then the party ability is Light Attack up 35. It's going to increase everybody's offense on your light team, and specifically for light units, another 20 Dark Resistance. So just the wielder of this card gets 30 light resistance overall, which is kind of insane, and then you can have some more light resistance with your secondary VC and just stack incredible amounts of it overall. So as a secondary VC, if you were putting it in that slot, you still get 5 Dark Resistance in the individual slot, 10 more in the party ability, and then 17 Like Attack, which is still decent. It does a good job at increasing both your offense and defense, but it is, again, very specialized against Dark. What that light NT Dark build would be, I'm putting Lucio in there because he's one of the better units to do it. He has, with his new sword that's going to be released eventually, that gives him 10% resistance to all elements, and then the Light Bangle that gives another 15 against light. You're going to equip this vision card. Why not have the Scions of Twilight on top for another 5 in the individual slot? And then you get a lot more Dark Resistance from the Demon Wall Esper if you do own it. There's other Espers that could give you Dark Resistance, not the only call. But yeah, you can end up with a Lucio that has 70% Dark Resistance. That is before applying any kind of buffs. He can move to 95 after it. Now, there are Dark units that Imperial Dark, so if you face an enemy Dwayne or an enemy Black Rose Helena, they are going to be able to reduce that amount, but you're still going to be in a good situation and capable of tanking quite a few hits with a build like this. And then don't forget that the Signs of Shadow party effect is Dark Resistance 20 for all your team if they're light units, so it's not like your guy that has almost Dark Immunity is the only one that can take a couple hits before going down. Now, we've talked about the two main, I would say, vision cards for this banner, but there is also the Bringers of Shadows vision card, and I don't think this one is going to see much play. It doesn't seem incredible to me, and honestly, yeah, I don't recommend that many people pull it, but let's talk about the scenarios where you might want it. First of all, what this does is it's designed to be equipped on a magical unit, so it's going to give them a high amount of mag in the stats, and then another 30% magic in the individual slot if it's on a fire unit. But your magic unit has a party ability that gives you attack up 50% for your entire team, so it's probably designed to be equipped on a team with 1 mage and 2 physical attackers if we're talking about 3-man PvP teams. Fire units will get 20 pierce resistance. Why not? So it's a weird mix. You have to have a hybrid composition if you really want to leverage this ability. As a secondary vision card, it will be the secondary VC that gives you the most amount of attack with this and the Ifrit vision card. So if you have both of these, Ifrit in primary or this in primary and then the other in a secondary slot, you'll get the highest amount of attack you can possibly gain from vision cards. So this is one thing, and it is really where it's going to shine, I think. You still get 10% pierce resistance for fire units in the secondary slot, sure. 14% magic for a fire unit. So I guess for Terra or Regalia Glaciala, this will actually be a good offensive vision card. Meanwhile, increasing the attack of your other guys. But there's not that many players running powerful fire teams, as far as I'm aware. So where would this card see play? Well, I feel, like I said, teams with 2 fire units that are physical oriented and then 1 fire mage like Terra, Setia, King Mont that we have on screen. That would be a good vision card to run there. You do have 2 really good alternatives though. There's the Encounter of Heroes vision card, the one with Rain on top, which gives you a crazy good mix of slash resistance, accuracy, and magic for everybody on your team. And then there's also the vision card that's going to be released alongside Terra, which gives you missile resistance, which is more important in most matches than pierce resistance would be. So there is competition for the vision card slots in here, but you could do that. I think the one place where this will actually see play and be best in slot is for box events and raids, because as I said before, if you have both this and Ifrit equipped, you get the highest amount of attack you can possibly get for your team, and it will affect your teammates no matter which element they are, because both Ifrit and this have a 50% attack up that is non-element restricted. So it's really, if you're going for max damage quickly, you want to build chains, you want to get high scores and steal Jay Benson's spotlight on the ladder for guild ranking perhaps, this vision card will be a good card to run there. That's really a niche scenario, but it is there and there will be players pulling for it just for this, I think. Overall though, if you're on a budget, I would say if you want to build light teams and be competitive with it, have more tools in your bag, Scions of Twilight is a really good get. If you want to be eventually using your light team to fight the dark teams and you want to have a counter for dark teams, then you could go for Scions of Shadows as well. It is not my #1 priority though. I would get Scions of Twilight before the Scions of Shadow vision card. And then if you really like that niche thing of going for box events and raids and trying to go for high scores, then sure, Bringers of Shadow is another option. But don't blow all your fizz right now. I just did a review of what's coming during Anniversary. and there is a lot of good stuff that is going to require a lot of Viz, so please be responsible and don't spend it all on those vision cards. So this is it. Thank you so much for watching. If you are watching this and you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please consider clicking that button. It doesn't cost you a lot, basically nothing, and it really helps me keep going. So thank you so much, and yeah, I'll see you next time.